What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. So earlier this week we did a video where we talked about 5 realistic superstar blockbuster trades that could maybe actually still happen in the NBA. We're in this kind of weird point where free agency's kind of dead, but there's still a lot of big names being thrown around. Bleacher Report did a whole article on it. We talked about it and then refined the trades to try and make them more realistic, and they put another article out. So you know what? Why not just recycle the content, right? But hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. All right, let's get into it. Alrighty, we got blockbuster trades we can still see ahead of the 2024-2025 NBA season. They got LaMelo Ball on the front of this, so I'm very curious as to where this can go. And let me start off by saying at first, if I kind of hate on one of these trades here, I'm not hating on the person that wrote this or anything. They're trying to do their job. They're trying to get clicks. It's whatever, right? And at the end of the day, am I going to make something perfect? No, the hell I'm not. But regardless, let's kind of get into this. Lauri Markkanen makes OKC unstoppable. Yeah, so this is one that's been floated around quite a bit. So it would be Lauri Markkanen. Ooh, okay, now we're throwing the house at him. That's what I'm talking about. Topic, Jang, Kenny Hustle, 2015 first-round pick from the Jazz, 2027 first-round pick, 2029 first-round pick, 2026 second. Yep, and some more seconds. Okay, let's think this through. Oklahoma City Thunder adding Lauri Markkanen. Yep, makes a ton of sense. That would be a huge addition to their team. He's the type of guy that they could probably use, a guy that could play kind of the wing, but not let's face it, right? He can play the wing. That's probably not where he's best suited, right? He's probably best suited as a 4 or something like that can probably switch and guard some threes, but he's out there for offense, right? At the end of the day, that's what Lauri Markkanen's supposed to do. It's kind of interesting. We obviously did a Lauri Markkanen one in the last video, and I had some people being like, Lauri Markkanen's not that good, and I'm like, I don't understand that. And I saw some people making some arguments being like, oh, well, he's a bad team, and so his stats are inflated. And I never understand that argument. It's people don't try to look at that from the other perspective. It's okay, you're the only good player on a team. Don't you think then that teams are going to guard you all the harder, right? There's two sides to this coin, right? Yes, he's going to get more shot opportunities, but also teams are completely keying in on him. It's just it's completely different, right? So it's just, I don't know, it's not a good enough argument for me, in all honesty. And Lauri Markkanen is a stupid good basketball player, right? Obviously he's the center of all these trade things because his contract is so movable right now, and it's so hard to move contracts right now. But anyway, you look at this trade, and it's okay, I'm not sure who you're getting out of this that's super interesting in terms of players per se. So the Jazz would get Topic, right, who at some points people thought he could be the number 1 pick in this draft, but not the most interesting class in general. He's already been hurt. He's got some clear flaws in his game already. He's not exactly a top tier pick. Jang's not even a guy we've seen on the NBA court very much. I think he's an interesting player. Kenny Hustle, role player, right, salary matching and stuff. And then some picks. It's not really all that interesting to me, so maybe let's try and see if we can construct another way we can get him to OKC that's maybe a little more valuable. So we're back here on Fanspo to make it happen, because why not? And Lauri Markkanen, the number 1 person on here. And I should address, the Jazz are not going to trade this dude, more likely than not. They're just not, but I do want to try to explore to see if there's something here, just because I know a lot of us want to see Lauri Markkanen on the Thunder. It seems like a really ideal fit at the end of the day. And look, when Josh Giddey was still here, I think that he probably would have been the centerpiece of a trade. I think Josh Giddey's a player that some teams would covet for a lot of reasons, basketball wise and stuff. But anyway, let's think about how we can do this. So Lauri Markkanen's moving over here to the Thunder. We got to make $18 million work, and then we'll include picks and whatnot afterwards. So they're going to want some sort of young talent that they can start to build around in some capacity. And so who are they willing to give up? They're not going to give up a Jalen Williams, Shea, right? I doubt they're giving up a Lou Dort or something like that. So where exactly do we start? It gets kind of complicated. So you might have to start with a Topic, but they've got so many players at the same positions that I'm kind of just I don't know exactly how we can make that work. I think it's got to start at the very least with like a Lou Dort going over there. I'm sorry, Thunder fans. I love the Dortcher Chamber as well, but I feel like it's kind of got to start there in some capacity. And like then you probably throw in like a Jang or something like that. And do you throw in like someone else like a Jalen Williams? Like that might be what you have to do. How does that look money wise? That probably works. So that probably works. That's at least like better. And then I'm not gonna spend too much time on this one just because I did some with like the other videos and stuff, right? So again, we'll throw in like the where do we want to send these picks? You can have the 2025 Utah pick back, right? Like you can trade that one back to the Jazz. You can trade this one to the Jazz in some capacity, and then any more than 2 first-round picks for some of these guys. Debatable. You throw in, I'm not going to think too much about this. Throw them a couple more second-round picks, right? It's going to, I think this is at least, like, better. I don't know if, like, Topic is necessarily, like, all that interesting to them. Like, maybe you can even throw Topic on top of this, and it doesn't really matter. But I think, like, someone at least, like, a Dort has to be in this. So, like, somebody that's a little bit more proven, a little more valuable, someone that they can actually use. But I just... In all honesty, I just don't see the Lauri Markkanen one really happening. Utah wants to win. Like, they're not going to get, like, a sweeping offer for this guy, most likely. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at the end of the day. Let's move on to the others. Next up, LaMelo Ball creates magic in Orlando. What are we talking about here? So LaMelo Ball going to the Magic. Interesting proposition. I'd be curious to see that. And then, yeah, the typical package that we see of some sort of either Anthony Black or Jet Howard, Wendell Carter, and Cole Anthony. The reason is this equals a max contract most of the time when you combine these 3 guys. It's kind of a really unique situation. And then a first-round pick, another first-round pick, so 2 2025 first-round picks that Orlando has going into next year. So let's just talk about this one for a second. LaMelo Ball, really good basketball player, right? Like we all know, probably like borderline all-star player if he's playing in a whole season. Maybe you question his leadership skills and everything like that, and if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, maybe you're asking yourself, like, hey, like, can this guy actually lead the team? He's kind of an immature dude. While he's not getting in, like, crazy off-the-court issues, like, it happens at times, but the talent is obviously there. He's not doing something, like, horribly wrong off the court, and then obviously he's just injured, like, all the time. Like, his lower body's kind of failing him pretty often. So you've got questions, right? But he's still so young, but you've got him on a max contract. Talking about it from Orlando's point of view, I think this would be awesome. Like, they need a guy that can, like, run the show. He can switch and play multiple positions. I don't need to explain to you why LaMelo's that great, but, like, Orlando needs a lead guard, right? Like, we're very clear that they need a lead guard and somebody that is, like, offensive oriented can lead the team at the same time. Like, the defense is good. Defense is really good. Jalen Suggs is getting better. That's probably who's going to have to play point guard this year, and we probably feel a little bit better about him running the point guard, but I don't know how much I like it. Anthony Black, like, offense isn't like his first thing at the end of the day. Like, it's not like running a team, like being a shot creator, things like that. Maybe he develops into it, but I don't personally see that as being a big part of his game. So a LaMelo Ball would be really interesting. Is this enough for LaMelo Ball in somebody's mind? They get an Anthony Black, interesting player. You get a Wendell Carter, you get a Cole Anthony, you get some really solid basketball players. I mean, they could probably use a Wendell Carter at center right now just because Mark Williams, we don't know how healthy he's going to be going into the year. You get a couple of first-round picks for him, but do we need to trade LaMelo Ball right now? Probably not. We're probably looking at something more so like, we got to see what he's doing this year. If he's getting hurt again, then maybe the conversation needs to be had, but then you might want to trade him now while the value's high. I don't think you need to trade him, in all honesty. I don't think there's been a lot of talk of it either. I don't think the Hornets are interested in trading him. So this one's kind of a moot point for that reason, but as far as, like, reworking this deal, like, I don't know. If we were going to trade LaMelo Ball somewhere, I don't think, like, I think the Orlando thing works, but I think you got to probably get more than this. Let's explore it a bit. All right, so how could this even work is the interesting thing, right? Like, what do we even have to do to make something like this happen? So obviously LaMelo Ball would be heading over here, and the reason I'm not, like, trying to do like I was doing in the other video, find a better way to trade the person, is because I don't think LaMelo Ball needs to be traded. I'm just trying to make it maybe more realistic to, if there was a discussion of him going to Orlando, that we would try to make it better. So I think Cole Anthony, at the very least, probably has to be a part of it in some capacity. Wendell Carter probably has to be a part of it too. I don't know if Anthony Black is necessarily who you need to include in this. I feel like they'd be more interested in, like, a Jet Howard. Maybe you'd even have to throw, like, De Silva into it, which I know y'all like De Silva because y'all watched him in Summer League and you Magic fans have already fallen in love with them. He looks solid. Just don't be crazy. You would rather have LaMelo Ball, so don't be crazy with me. So you know what? I think you got to throw like a De Silva into it or something, because you got to throw somebody with a little bit of like intriguing value onto them. They could probably use someone at the wing at that position, although they're already trying to develop Salon, so... But they're gonna want the young players. They just are. And then like a Wendell Carter, like is that more so what's gonna have to happen? Like how does this work? That works. Okay, like I guess I don't know, man. Like this trade, just like there's nothing really there to it. Like as a Charlotte Hornets fan, would you feel good about like any combination of these dudes, not named like Franz Wagner or anything, right? Like any combination of like Caleb Houston, Jet Howard, Anthony Black, like I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything. So I'm not going to do the YouTuber thing where I'm just going to try to put something out to put something out. This doesn't work. This is dumb. So I don't think LaMelo Ball's ending up on the Orlando Magic or subsequently getting traded anywhere else. So let's just kill this one here. All right, article. I know it's the slow season, but give me something interesting to work with. Brandon Ingram to the Raptors. Pelicans fill out the roster. What does that mean? Is Jakob Poeltl on the move then? So Brandon Ingram and Jordan Hawkins are on the move. What are we getting for Jakob Poeltl, Bruce Brown, 2026 first-round pick? What? Okay. So let me get this straight. So first of all, Toronto's trying to win more basketball games, apparently. We don't really know about that in real life. I can't tell what the Toronto Raptors are necessarily trying to do. It seems like they're just like, okay, we're going to throw out the team we kind of got this year, which is not a bad basketball team by any means. It's just odd, to say the least, and we just don't know what they're going to do. So they're like, let's roll them out and kind of see what the hell happens, right? And so you assume they're trying to win. They basically try to buy Brandon Ingram for cheap right now because his market is just kind of like bleh, kind of all over the place. And teams are afraid of paying people right now. They don't want to get locked up too much because then they're locked into their team for a long time. But they're also trading Jordan Hawkins, who's a young player who I personally think has a good amount of potential. Like, again, I don't want to hear any Summer League comments or anything. The Summer League just does not matter that much. It just doesn't. So they're trading him and Jordan Hawkins for a center who, given they need a center, getting a guy like Bruce Brown who would help them win games right now, and a first-round pick. Is that really what we want for BI and a guy that they just took in the like the lottery like a year ago? I don't know. We've done a couple Brandon Ingram trades so far. Let's explore what else this Toronto deal could look like. So I'm not saying that like a deal like this couldn't happen. I'm actually going to put New Orleans on this side first, since they're the team that is trading away the better players. So obviously they got DeJounte Murray on the team now, right? Like they got their point guard. That's really cool. So it's no longer like an Emmanuel Quickley thing. He's got the recently signed anyway, so that's not anything that's going to take place. So Brandon Ingram over there. What does this lineup even look like then at this point? So you got Quickley out there, you got Barrett, you got BI, you got Scotty, and then presumably you're trading Jakob Poeltl because they need a center, right? Like that's the very least that has to happen, right? And just so I can understand for like the cap situation in this one, yep, they failed. You need to cut at least $9 million more to make it happen. Okay, yep, that's fine. I know Raptors fans like Jakob Poeltl, and I'm not saying I don't like Jakob Poeltl. I like Jakob Poeltl. Is it worth losing Jakob Poeltl? Because let's be honest, Raptors fans, y'all ain't probably going nowhere, right? Is it worth it to get BI who could just have more value, right? You might say Jakob Poeltl's easier to trade or something like that, and big men are harder to find, and that's completely true, and I would hear you out on that argument for sure. You also then don't have many other bigs to go to on this roster, do you? You have Kelly Olynyk and Boucher, who, let's be honest, you're probably not all that excited about. And then what kind of happens after that, right? I don't know is the answer. I just don't know. Is this something where like Yves Missy like has to be traded as well then? I don't know. We gotta think this through. See, this is what I'm getting hung up on. Like, I don't understand why Toronto would want to get rid of, like, Poeltl, and I can't justify that. So what if I'm trying to think of other... Okay, no, I actually do have an idea. Ooh, this might actually work really well. Okay, Trailblazers need to make some trades, right? They got a weird-ass roster. And they've got a guy by the name of DeAndre Ayton who could totally fill the center role in New Orleans. Is it an ideal fit? Would I necessarily recommend it and be super excited about it? No, but they need a center. And the Trailblazers have a young guy by the name of Donovan Clingan that they beat. What the shit is going on here? Wow. My man's going to play for forever. That's really cool. And then they also have Robert Williams. So here's what can happen. We make money work right off the bat. You guys get a center. Ooh, very exciting. Very happy. Who do the Portland Trailblazers then get out of this? This is where we could take Bruce Brown. We can move him over there to the Trailblazers. What does this kind of look like just as is? Do we have a money situation that works? No, we don't. They need to cut $5.5 million more. Say less. Okay, who else can we move in a situation like this to where, because what else does Portland need? Because we don't need to send anything necessarily back to New Orleans. I think they'd be happy just getting DeAndre Ayton back in something like this, and we'll throw some picks in to kind of make it make sense here at the end. Now Toronto's got a really interesting roster, actually. It's kind of crazy, actually, in some ways. The 4.3 is not going to be enough, so recently traded, you can't do that. Do you move like a Chris Boucher over just because? And maybe they suck up some of the money. It's a one-year deal only at the end of the day, so you send him over to Portland. Like, how does this work? Okay, this actually works. So let's rationalize this for a second. Does this make some sense? Portland gets a proven player in Bruce Brown that they can throw on the roster, right? Does it make a ton of sense for them, like as like a player fit? Maybe not, but you're getting another veteran to kind of throw on this team, and it's only a one-year deal, so you're freeing yourself up for cap space a little bit sooner. Man, Portland's got to make a lot of moves, man. This is just a weird-ass roster, but I honestly just think you got to get DeAndre Ayton out of the way more so. I'm not saying there's not going to be some picks included in this somehow, but I think something's got to give, and Toronto's definitely got to be the one giving up some picks here, right? So 2025 first round pick, are they willing to give up that to get Brandon Ingram? I don't know. I doubt it, honestly. Do they have a 2027? Yes, they do. So let's send a 2026 over to the Blazers here because they're just getting worse players back, right? So they get a first round pick. They've moved off of DeAndre Ayton's money. They've saved themselves a little bit of cash by the looks of it, very slightly, right? I mean, how much exactly did we save in this one? Very little, yeah. So that happened. There's a first round pick going over there now. They got DeAndre Ayton back for Brandon Ingram. They don't need to incorporate any other picks or anything like that. I feel like we might have to give up another pick in this one over here to Portland. I don't think it necessarily even needs to be a first because you got like a Bruce Brown back, and DeAndre Ayton's not calling for that much, so maybe you just throw like a couple seconds over here, throw it over here, because we're asking you to take on some money and stuff like that, but we're also giving them salary relief, so maybe just like a first and a second. Is this a really easy way to move Brandon Ingram, DeAndre Ayton without having to move like a shit ton of picks? How do we feel about this? This is better than I think the one we were looking at the very least, right? Because what was happening before? Yeah, they had to trade like Jordan Hawkins before and Matt Ryan. Ooh, Matt Ryan. Do we want to throw Matt Ryan into this deal just kind of for the hell of it? Because they don't necessarily need him, and they could use the shooting over here. Can you guys take on Matt Ryan? Would you guys be interested in taking on Matt Ryan? Oh, okay. That'll do. I feel a little bit better about that even now. Now the Pelicans open up a roster spot and stuff. Maybe they can capitalize on the buyout market. I don't know where they're at cap-wise. Are they a second apron team? No, they're not an apron team yet. Okay, well then great. That's awesome. So they can maybe hit the buyout market or something like that. That's cool. They've got their center on their team now. Is it an ideal fit next to Zion? No, not at all. But you know what? You're getting desperate, and you needed some size on this team very, very badly. So now you at least got him and Missy and Tice. But if you're Toronto, you got Brandon Ingram. Cool. You got him for, what did you trade to get him? You traded Boucher, Bruce Brown, a couple picks. That's fine. We'll do that 100%. And now you've at least got a really interesting roster to kind of play with. Team length, as always in Toronto. Team length. All right, that one was a little bit better. I felt a little bit better about this one. What else do we got here? Karl Anthony Towns to the Clippers. Cam Johnson to the Wolves in a 3-team deal. I'm listening, but skeptical already. So, yep, the Clippers get Karl Anthony Towns. Why? We don't know. I'm going to want to read the article, honestly, about this. The Timberwolves receive Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Terrence Mann, a bunch of really solid players, and a 2030 second-round pick. Okay, the Nets receive all the rest. They get Norm Powell. Okay, yeah, the Kobe Brown, Bones Highland, PJ Tucker. Yep, they get all the kind of garbage stuff. Not garbage stuff. I don't mean to make it seem like that, but like the not as interesting parts, and they're going to take on some draft picks because that's the strategy, right? Basically, dump your players, get draft picks, right? Take on people's salary, yada, yada, yada. So you get one first-round pick and a second-round pick for Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't get why the Timberwolves would do this. So, like, I understand Karl Anthony Towns is Karl Anthony Towns, and sometimes he's really frustrating. But at the end of the day, they do need somebody else that can, like, score in large quantities on this team. And, like, while, yes, he plays a goofy style of basketball that is sometimes just completely nonsensical, and you're like, what are you doing out here, dude? Like, he does get you upwards of, like, 25 in a night if you need him to, right? And it's like, you need it on this team. There's nobody else that can score outside of Ant, right? Like, that's the whole point of, like, drafting Dillingham and Terrence Shannon, to hope that you can bring a little bit more scoring on the team. But, like, you can't count on rookies to do that. I do think Terrence Shannon could probably get you upwards of, like, 12 points right away as a rookie, which would be really, really nice coming off the bench. But, like, I don't think you can really be trading Karl Anthony Towns for something like that. I don't know who's necessarily looking for Karl Anthony Towns. Can we see the reasoning behind this? The Clippers are in real danger of missing the Western Conference playoffs next season and should be in pursuit of a third star to pair with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. Should they really, though? Towns, 28, is a four-time All-Star who would bring a different offensive dimension to them. He could play alongside Zubats in the starting lineup. Yup. Okay, to build a consistent winner and duck the second apron moving forward, the Wolves almost certainly have to move on from Towns and his current 4-year. Yup, so I understand that. Cameron Johnson, I like Cameron Johnson a lot. I think he'd be a good fit on the team. Would take over Towns' spot. Yep, you add Dorian Finney-Smith, Terrence Mann. Yep, they get a lot deeper. You've got a really interesting core. Don't disagree with that necessarily whatsoever. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're moving Towns, here's the thing, right? It's going to be harder when you're like an apron team to bring in star talent, right? So you almost want to keep star talent or trade star talent for star talent to make it happen. So I don't necessarily love this move. Do I think the Timberwolves are in a really interesting situation that it's going to be fascinating to see how they watch it, because they're kind of in contention right now, right? I think we all believe that they at least have a shot at doing it. Can they replicate what they did last year? It's hard to say. I think they really got better, and I think they had a really good offseason, so I'd like to think so. But the thing is, like, Gobert, how much longer is he going to be effective for? Like, he is pretty easy to game plan for in the playoffs. Like, Towns, like, how much can you rely on him and for how much longer? Like, he is only, like, 28, but at the same time, he's the right person to have on this team. Ant is still super, super young. There's a lot of time on his window and everything, but are they going to need to do kind of a soft retooling at some point for this team? And that's kind of interesting in a different sense, right? So I don't know if the Clippers necessarily need to do it. If you guys haven't been paying attention, the Clippers have been doing this thing this whole offseason where they're giving all these dudes like 2-year deals that are really solid basketball players. Basically just being like, hey, we'll pay you, come in for 2 years. We'll give you a solid deal. And basically they're just trying to be competitive this year. And the presumption is that, like, they're going to try to be as good as possible. If they're not good, I'm going to guess they kind of bottom out or something like that. And now all of a sudden, they've got all these good players on 1-year deals at the end of the year that they can just trade and get assets for, that winning teams are going to want them on their, like, really nice contracts that they can bring in and help try to push them over the top, and they're going to try to collect all the assets. Like, I just guarantee you that's what they're thinking. So, because I can't imagine they're still trying to contend, like, logically at this point. Like, I'm sure they're like, if we can, we can, but it doesn't make a ton of sense. But let's see if we can't figure out a Karl Anthony Towns trade that would make some sense. Okay, so I just kind of had like an evil genius thought for that. I just kind of sat in the background here and thought about this for like 5 minutes, and I want to figure this out. I don't exactly know where I'm going with this yet, but I just want to kind of whiteboard it out with you guys and see where we're going. And you're like, oh, what are the Utah Jazz doing on here? Oh no, and don't worry, I've already got a third team in mind. Oh no, what are the Golden State Warriors doing on here? Oh my gosh, what's about to happen? I don't know either. We're gonna figure it out though. I think it starts here. Karl Anthony Towns of the Warriors, they've been trying to get some people. That's what they're going to try to do, right? So Karl Anthony Towns goes over there to the Warriors. Can we get Lauri Markkanen on the Timberwolves, the team that originally technically drafted him and then traded him to the Bulls, my Chicago Bulls, who then didn't realize how good he was and just got rid of him for nothing? Made me so mad, and I knew it was going to happen from the day we drafted him, because that's how the Bulls work. I'm not here to talk about that right now, though. Is there a universe now where the Warriors can help give the Jazz some interesting young players and throw enough picks at them to where we can make this work? I'm about to try to find out. Lauri Markkanen comes in here, right? Who else do we want to throw at people to try to make this kind of interesting? I think it's got to start in one place, and one place in particular. I think it's got to start with Jonathan Kuminga. I know, Warriors fans, calm down. All right, dude's not close to being an all-star yet. You guys really think he is? He's not. You'd rather have Karl-Anthony Towns right now. You just would. So Jonathan Kuminga starts off there. I just want to see the money, kind of where it's working right now. Yep, so they got to cut $41 million still. That makes some sense. I totally understand. So Wiggins is next, right? Wiggins has got to go to Utah as well. They could probably use him. That makes a ton of sense, actually. They could use a wing like that. Try this trade. How much more do we have to cut? Need to cut another $15 million. All right, where else can we cut some people? Gary Payton, you can head over to the Jazz. That's totally fine. He's on a one-year deal. They don't care, right? They're happy to take Kuminga in some capacity. They're trading Lauri Markkanen at the end of the day, and they need somebody else. We're going to let them keep pods, right? We're going to throw Moses Moody in there, though. Where's Moses Moody? Where are you, bastard? There you go. Going over there. Does that work just in itself? That works just in itself. Okay. This is interesting. All the Warriors I like how it was kind of just a swap like this, so this could have just been like individual trades in some capacity. But I think this is interesting nonetheless. Do we want to move like any other players somehow in this? Are there other people that we can move that would make this like even more dynamic and even more interesting? Because I'm not gonna lie, like I'd really like to try to find a way to get like a Jordan Clarkson on like the Timberwolves as well, because they've been trying to move this dude. And maybe we could make this happen. So let's just say, and also, do the Warriors want to get rid of anybody else on here? No, they probably want the rest of these dudes, huh? Yeah, I think they do. Also, the Timberwolves and the Warriors just have some experience trading in the past, so I could actually see something like this kind of being negotiated. There seems to be some good rapport there. Okay, so they clearly don't need Jordan Clarkson on this team at this point, so can we get him over to the Timberwolves as well? And maybe this just means that we're giving up more draft capital, because they can't give up like any draft capital is the thing, right? So that's kind of the tough thing. But they are getting Jonathan Kuminga in this, so at least they're getting an interesting young player. So I just want to kind of see this, and maybe I'm going too far with it, so the money actually does work, which is interesting enough as is. Okay. What else would they have to give up to Utah to make this like all worth their time? Like, they're not giving up Dillingham, they're not giving up Terrence Shannon. Are any of the rest of these guys like worth giving up to them in some capacity? Am I just pushing this too far? And did I just have a good thing from the beginning? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Maybe like a Leonard Miller should also be on the move. They could use some other wings to try to build around on this team. Now, couldn't they? They did just bring in Andrew Wiggins. That's kind of whatever, right? They got Moody. They'll have Kuminga. He'll get to play kind of whatever position. He might even get to play the 3 on this team because they got John Collins. Yeah, no, I think I'm forcing it. I think this alone is interesting. So what picks can you guys give up? None. You guys have like no picks to give up at this point. So you guys are going to have to give up some picks. Your 2025 first round pick is 100% out of here going to Utah. There's no question about that. So you keep your 2026, your 2027 probably also has to be on the move. So you guys are doing this because you guys aren't giving up any star players in this. So you guys have to be the ones to give up some picks. 2 first round picks. You got Kuminga, you got Moody. That's probably fair, in all honesty. Timberwolves, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them some seconds or something like that. So guess what? Your 2025 second-round pick, yep, that's going to the Jazz as well. They're gonna do something with it. Oh, they've got the Jazz second-round pick. Actually, no, we want that one back. Give us that pick back. You can have the Jazz pick back. There you go. Is this enough? Is this enough, in all honesty? You guys tell me in the comments. Timberwolves, get Lauri Markkanen. I don't need to tell you why that is a significant improvement over Karl-Anthony Towns. Significant improvement? Yeah, no, it's an improvement. It's an improvement. I'm not going to say that isn't. The Warriors get Karl-Anthony Towns. They weren't able to get Lauri Markkanen, but they got Karl-Anthony Towns somehow. So they've gotten another star player on the team. And what they have to give up? They had to give up Kuminga. They didn't give up Pods in this one. They didn't have to give up Pods. They wanted to keep him. So you trade Kuminga, which, like, Warriors fans, get over it, all right? Dude's not an all-star yet. He still has a lot of stuff to prove. He's still a pretty basic basketball player for the most part. He's really interesting. Hasn't done anything that crazy yet, and he doesn't fit your system. He does not fit the Warrior system. You owe it to Steph Curry to try to win some basketball games. He doesn't fit. Moody doesn't want to be there anyway. You trade Gary Payton, it's whatever. You trade Wiggins, it's whatever. You're gonna have a weird team at the wing, but you brought in another star player at the very least, and somebody at the forward spot to do so. So I don't know. I kind of like this one, and we found a way to bring Lauri Markkanen back in after all, so that's kind of cool. All right, what's the last one we got here in all these nonsense trades? Houston Rockets go into win now mode with Julius Randle. Interesting. Julius Randle next to Alperen Şengün. How do I feel about that? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That's interesting. Who are we trading? Julius Randle for Jabari Smith Jr., Jacques Landale, Jeff Green, a 2027 first-round pick. Interesting. So I'm on team Houston Rockets doesn't need any more projects, right? So I'm not mad at them wanting to like give up one of the projects, get more of a win now type guy. Like honestly, it's probably going to be better for the young guys you do have if you start figuring out how to win some basketball games, right? I don't doubt that at all. Is this probably like not the worst trade? You're getting all NBA type talent in Julius Randle. So now you've got this team of like, who are you even throwing out there at this point? You got Fred, you got Green, you got Brooks, you got Julius Randle, and you got AP. That's a tough-ass team, I'm not going to lie. Like, and I literally mean just, like, tough motherfuckers, right? Maybe not Jalen Green. Sorry, Jalen Green. But y'all know what I'm saying. And then you still got some interesting dudes off the bench, right? Between, like, Thompson. You obviously got Reed that you took this year, right? You got, like, Eason and them boys. So, maybe? I think that there's something potentially here. I don't know how much I love it. Jabari Smith could at least like come in and play like a little bit of center for them, and they could have Jacques Landale, which I think Tom Thibodeau actually, if given Jacques Landale, could probably get something going with him again. So let's explore this one just between these two teams. All right, we got Knicks, we got Houston. There we go. There's the Houston Rockets. So Julius Randle, only $28 million. Like, it's so trippy to me to see how much like more money people are making nowadays. Oh yeah, and you got Steven Adams on the team already. True. Okay, so I like the Jabari Smith part of it. I think that makes sense. Because let's be real, like, Julius Randle, you can say whatever you want about him. Dude's an incredible basketball player. He just is, right? So it starts off there. You're trading Jabari Smith, a guy that you've put a lot of time and effort into, right? I like the Jacques Landale thing because you just don't really need him on the team, and he's making a decent amount of money. He goes over to the Knicks as well. Does this just like work as is? No, it doesn't. Okay, they need to cut another $3-ish million. I think they got to give up another like young player or something like that. I don't think it needs to be like a Jeff Green per se. I think it's got to be either a Tari Eason or a Jayshawn Tate. And like, I know y'all love Tari Eason and everything. I bet you Tom Thibodeau would too, though. I think you got to give him up in this case. I think you kind of do. Like, what other guys do you kind of have at the forward spot right now? Yeah, I think you do. I think it's got to be like a Tari Eason type. This is an all NBA type player. This is like the least that has to happen. By the way, did they have picks in this? Yeah, they had one first-round pick. Which, yeah, if you're getting Tari and Jabari, yeah, I'd say like a first-round pick is probably not the worst thing for this. And there, don't get me wrong, there's a case for just keeping Julius Randle on this team. There very much is, and I'd be willing to hear you out on it. I also think this team's going to be so loaded with like the rest of these guys that they have that it might just be better to just have role player Jabari Smith on the team, role player Tari Eason, and role player Jacques Landale. Might just be more beneficial to you guys, and you get some picks that you can use later on or something like that. So are they going to trade their own pick? Hell if I know. You're trying to win some basketball games this year. I feel like you have to probably give it over to them in some capacity. So I think you probably trade something like that, and then maybe like a future second round pick or something like that. How does this look for a trade? That works. I don't hate this, honestly. I don't hate this. I'd be curious to hear what Knicks fans have to say about this, honestly. Would you be excited to get like a young dude like Jabari Smith? You're getting some more height on the team. I think Tari Eason under Tom Thibodeau probably thrives in some capacity. In Houston, you got to start winning some games, right? And given the current roster that you have, I don't know if it's going to happen. And you've got to start developing the young talent at some point. So bringing in all NBA talent is just hard to do nowadays. You bring him in, it's probably going to make you better than if you just had these dudes. It just is. And this like draft pick, you just don't need any more young players. You just don't. So I don't know. I like this trade. I kind of like this trade. Like if I saw that this happened, I'd kind of be like, okay, yeah, I could see what both teams are thinking with this one. And so I can support it. But all right, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed me just kind of going through and talking about this. Some of these were a little goofier than others, but you know what? It's the off season, right? We're all looking for something to kind of fantasize about, right? So at the end of the day, I think it was a fun activity. But hey, appreciate you guys as always. There's an ambulance going by, so I'm trying to wrap this up quickly. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye.